Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Sporting Directions, proudly sponsored by Tsunami Teamwear. With me, Tavis Roberts.
And me, Simon Atkinson.
For those of you new to the show, Sports Directions podcast is aimed at providing some ideas and guidance for those of you wanting to pursue a career in the world of sport. Over the course of the first series, we'll be interviewing a range of professionals from different areas of sport to share some of their amazing stories. We'll be having them share with us some of their achievements, their struggles, and any advice they may have for many of you also wanting to pursue a career in sport. Today, we are very happy to welcome Martin Brockman. Martin was the 2010 Commonwealth Games Decathlon bronze medalist and is the head of athlete development at Aspire Academy, Qatar. Welcome, Martin, and let us begin. What was a strong memory that led you in the direction of pursuing a career in sport?
Hi guys, thanks a lot for having me on. I guess for me, it really started at primary school. My first memories of sport and wanting to go in that direction of when I was at primary school doing sports day. And I remember running in the relay and picking up the baton miles behind everyone else and just flying past all these smaller and shorter and slower kids, with the kids lining the track, screaming and cheering for their team, which I was Bannister after Roger Bannister. And, you know, I think having that moment, as a kid on sports day, it's like the Olympics. I absolutely loved it. And from that moment, I didn't want to do anything else but become an athlete.
Yeah, that sounds absolutely amazing. I mean, that's a very strong memory there straight away to have all those people cheering you on, and I can see where that motivation and where that drives come from. You mentioned Bannister there, a very famous athlete. I'm just very curious. Is there anyone particular in your life that really inspired you beyond that moment to really head in the direction of a career in sport?
Everyone's first experience of sport is school and is PE, really. So I had a PE teacher at school that encouraged me to go and just try an athletics club. I wasn't even particularly that good, actually, as I went into secondary school. Once puberty kicks in, some kids grow faster than others, and I was later and not that good, but had a passion for it. And the teacher saw that passion, encouraged me to go and develop that at an athletics club. And from there, I met my coach, who was my coach for most of my career, and he really drove me on. And you know, he saw me one day, again, not that necessarily that talented, but he actually said to me, you know what, you'll be a really good athlete because you're lazy. And I said, well, what does that mean? He said, well, you as an athlete, you have to be either working incredibly hard or doing nothing at all, because you need to recover. And you know, he's absolutely right. On the surface, I look quite lazy. Actually, what it is, I get bored quickly, which is why I did Decathlon with 10 events. Those people, it's not necessarily one person that's inspired my journey, but there's lots of people that have nudged me in the right direction at the time that I needed it. So I had the PE teacher nudge me to go and try athletics. I then had my coach nudge me to become a full-time athlete. And he really taught me everything that I know about coaching. And when he retired as a coach, I actually then went on to coach myself to my second Commonwealth Games, just with the knowledge that he taught me. And then I took that on now to help coach other people. And that's how I've ended up in Qatar.
That's fantastic. And I think you're absolutely right. There's a very famous quote, there's no such thing as a self-made man. Everyone needs help. Everyone needs encouragement, everyone needs support. And your story definitely sounds like one of those ones where, and I love the idea of lots of people adding a little bit of help amounted to a lot of help in a total. And I must say, on behalf of all the PE teachers watching and myself being a PE teacher and Tavis, you know, it's great to know that the things we do and the things we teach and the children we encourage, it can lead to success later down the line. That little fire we like can lead to something fantastic. What I do want to do is I want to just pick up on something you said. You went from having a coach to coaching yourself. What I'd love to know is, at what point did you realize I want to kind of delve into the coaching side a little more maybe than the performance side?
Well, actually, I coached the whole way through my career. So when I left school and became a full-time athlete, so I decided not to go to university initially. And part of that was, I'm going to train full-time, but that gives you a lot of free time. And I wanted to, one, give something back, and two, coaching is an excellent way to learn about your craft. So there's one thing someone trying to teach you it, but there's another thing trying to teach it to someone else, and that's where you really develop that understanding. So I actually coached for my local athletics club for the first 8 years for free. I would coach anyone who wants to come, and they went from real young beginners in the 100 meters up to elite level decathletes. So, and then as I went forwards, I'd honed this set of skills that allow me to become a professional coach. And that quote of if you find a job you love, you never work a day in your life, and that's become me really. I'm doing something now that I'm paid for that I used to do for free, and the longer I can do that, the better.
Thanks, Martin. It's great to hear that your story, and there's a couple of things that I want to just pull you back to. You mentioned before that you didn't go to university initially, and I know a lot of probably our listeners may be coming up to a decision like that where they're either being encouraged to go to university or they're looking for a different pathway. What was running through your head as you were sort of making those decisions, and what was the energy behind it? What was sort of the motivating factors to go into full-time coaching or becoming a full-time athlete?
For me, I was never excited about school. I was never particularly inspired about school. So this is where I came across as quite lazy at school, but really it was boring for me, and I wanted to take a break from that. So initially I only took 2 years out, was the agreement I had with my parents. I'm going to take 2 years out to try and become an athlete, because they couldn't believe it because I wasn't really that good. And we had targets. If I hit these targets, I'd keep going. And after 2 years, I was still going. After 4 years, I was at the Commonwealth Games. So I'd gone from nobody to that level. So it was really a short-term break that turned into a career. But I have a lot of athletes come to me and ask me about it, and they say they're going to do the same thing. I actually don't advise it, because you have to realize that, especially in elite sport, most people aren't going to make it. I made it to Commonwealth Games level, didn't make it to Olympic level. And my career has been forged by taking a different path. My income comes from my coaching, not from my athletics background. So it is important to get that education behind you. But whilst at university, I went to university at 25. What I did do is I looked around and saw that everyone who had gone down this pathway of GCSE, A-level, straight into university, doing sports degrees, but they really didn't have anything else on their CV apart from the education. And then someone like me goes to university, I have the same degree as you, plus at that point 8 years of coaching experience, plus international athlete experience. So the degree is useful, but the degree only, or the CV only gets you an interview. After that, you need to have something else. You need to have something interesting. Why should we hire you over all the other people that have a CV, the other people that have a degree? So, I mean, my thought plan was, there wasn't too much of a plan, to be honest. It's, I want to be an athlete. I'm done with education for a while. I'll take a break and I'll see how it goes. But I do advise people, you need to have the long-term goal in mind also of, what am I going to do career-wise if sport or being an athlete doesn't work out?
That's a great answer, that you grow from every interaction that you have. And you've sort of shown that you've grown from a nobody as you coached yourself throughout the time for 4 years, and it took you to the Commonwealth Games, okay? And at the Commonwealth Games, I believe you had a bronze medal. You had a lot of success. Would that be correct?
I went from, when I left school, I was second in the county, and I went to third in the Commonwealth within 4 years. I mean, that comes with an awful lot of work and an awful lot of dedication. It's not just the training. I didn't turn up and do the training. Almost anyone can turn up and be told what to do. It was the driving to the track for 30 minutes, and I just asked my coach questions the whole way there and the whole way back, and it must have driven him crazy. Why are we doing this? How does this work? What's this technique? What's the best thing to do? So I had, that's an hour a day, every day, asking questions. And then I'd go to the track 4 days a week, and I'd coach for 3 hours. So that's another, 15 hours or 12 hours a week of practicing the skill. So it's not just, I did 6 hours training a day, 6 days a week, plus 5 hours, 6 hours of asking questions, Q&A with my coach, plus another 12 hours of coaching. So it was really, I absorbed myself in it. There's lots of people wonder how you did it. And there were athletes got upset because I'd bypassed them on the way there, and they think they were better than me. They should have been that person. But they were doing their training, then they were going home and playing PlayStation. I was doing twice as many hours of basically educating myself as I was doing training.
It sounds like you really immersed yourself in this whole environment of becoming a decathlon athlete through the coaching, asking questions, always growing. That you invested, and this could be a difficult question, that you invested so much time and were able to get to the Commonwealth Games, and you did come third. Did you aim to get higher, or were you happy for it? Did you see it as a failure? And if so, did that motivate for you? Was that motivation for you to go to the next step of your journey?
Well, this is a tough thing about sport, is that you have to set ridiculous targets. You have to set targets that are basically impossible to achieve. So I was 18-year-old, second in the county in the decathlon. And I decided, I remember being at school and they announced that we're going to have the London Olympics. And I sat there, and that was basically the day I decided, okay, I'm going to be an athlete because I'm going to try. You never get this opportunity again. And the chances of me getting there are slim to none, but I'm going to try. And on that journey, the Commonwealth Games qualifying standard would be about where I need to be tracking towards it. So I'm going to try and qualify for the Commonwealth Games. Actually, the qualifying was 7,430, and I scored 7,433, something like that. I really scraped across the line just to qualify for the Commonwealth Games. But then once I was there, I had nothing to lose. So I had the competition in my life, won a bronze medal. But it's really a bit of a double-edged sword, because that success should have propelled me forwards, but it also comes with a lot of pressure. So people around me knew that I was trying to get to the Olympics and, see if he gets there. Suddenly you're a Commonwealth Games bronze medalist. Well, people don't really understand their level. So they think, well, maybe he's going to win the medal at the Olympics. And suddenly the pressure was building and building and building. So as much as now it's great for me to have that medal sitting on the side over here and have it on my LinkedIn profile that I did that once, it made it, the pressure was a lot over the next couple of years. And when I didn't make the Olympics, that's something I had to deal with, and it was tough to pick myself back up again and go for the next Commonwealth Games, which was in Glasgow. So it's a home games. It's not the same, but maybe it's a nice kind of runners-up medal. I would say in the long term, having had that big vision, having that goal of going to the Olympics, in some ways I failed, but in going through the process, look how far I've come. And that's the important thing. And that's what I do now. I set myself really big goals. I have goals of where I want to be by the time I'm 40, knowing that even if I get halfway, I've still done pretty well. So I try and take that kind of philosophy forward in life, in my career and in my personal life.
I'm absolutely loving this information, Martin. There's so many important things that are coming through. Some of the things that I've just written down, again, hard work, dedication, that insatiable need for information to grow, to be better. So something I like to refer to quite a lot in these interviews is that growth mindset. That always wanting to be better, that finding opportunity where others find failure. And to hear someone like yourself actually say the word failed or failure, but then allude to how that failure has actually resulted in you moving forward and you kind of gaining benefit through that hunger. I think that's sound advice to anyone listening. Half of the journey is the qualifications and going in the right direction. But I think from listening to you, I think and other guests we've had, I think the other half of the journey is very much how you approach your journey, with that sheer will to succeed and that dedication and that immersive lifestyle. I liked that idea how your competitors were going home and playing PlayStation and not focused on what it was they were doing, whereas you were asking questions and moving forward. And I think that just inspires others who maybe aren't competing to the highest level or aren't the right body shape. They can overtake their competitors if they just have a different mindset. Is there anything you want to add to my observations there, Martin?
No, I think you've summed it up pretty well. I mean, the only thing I would probably add is this idea of what's nature versus nurture, and what's talent. And there were awful lot of people that were more talented than me. And now at work, there's probably an awful lot of people that are smarter than me. But are you willing to do the hard work? And lots of people now, especially when they're early in their careers, they want to get paid for what they do. And I'll do this job, I'll do this next step up, or I'll come and do this coaching if you're going to pay me for it. But really, my biggest asset is that 8 years I did for free, because people pay you they don't pay you for your degree, they pay you for your experience and your knowledge. And that is a craft that is honed over time. It's really being willing to do the work you're not getting paid for, that's going to give you that next step up. And that's true in work, and it's also true in sport. If you want to step up to the next level, you've got to do what everyone else is not willing to do.
Sometimes in these conversations, we ask for people to give us their mantra, their kind of one line, and I think I've already written down about 6 for you, Martin. It's phenomenal. I could write a book now on all these little mantras, but I love the idea of you don't get employed for what you know, you get employed for what you do. And I do love that idea, and I do certainly, from my own experience, recommend anyone listening at university to take the time to go out and do volunteer work, and take the time to go out and give back. And I think that's key, to give back, and that's important for our souls, and becoming good people, which is still just as important as getting that job you want. And back to the good old saying, hard work beats talent if talent doesn't work hard. And I think you're a real, true, shining example of that, Martin. So thank you for that. My next question really is, you've kind of answered it, but I'd like you to kind of really pinpoint for me any particular setbacks you had in your career, whether it be as an athlete or as a coach, and how those setbacks affected you moving forward.
Well, I mean, obviously, in terms of my athletics career, obviously we spoke about the Olympics, and that was a tough day. The day you realise that dream is over, and that it takes a lot of resetting. And the same thing happened the day I finished my last decathlon. I crossed the finishing line, and I kind of, okay, that's that done. That's 10 years flown by. What to do next? And also, what was the point of that? You know, I'd been an athlete for 10 years, competed for Great Britain, 2 Commonwealth Games. I've got a medal, and then now I've crossed the finish line. Well, someone else is that guy now. What to do next? And you have to learn how to reset, realign, find your next goal. But I would say that you have these big setbacks, and that's just about restructuring, learning from the past and going forwards. Probably my day-to-day setbacks are, I'm 35. I look about 25. That holds me back sometimes in terms of, when you're at work, I'm in that unique position of, I'm 35 years old, but I've got almost 20 years of coaching experience. But what I look like is a retired athlete who started coaching 5 years ago after retirement. I look young, I look new, and yet I've got 20 years of experience. People don't see that experience necessarily straight away. So the whole time I've been coaching, I've had a 45-year-old, 50-year-old man versus 25-year-old. Well, we go with the 50-year-old. He must have more experience. He must have more knowledge. And I've had to kind of fight that way and prove myself at every step. And I'm still doing that now. To be head of athlete development as a 35-year-old is pretty good. I'm happy with it. To be looking like a 25-year-old doing that job, you look like you're out of your depth. And you have to, when you're dealing with high-level medical staff and these kind of people, you have to prove your worth. But again, that you can prove your worth by having done the hard work in the background. There's a reason you're there. And if you go in with the confidence, knowing that actually I have 20 years of experience, I had the same experience as you, it gives you that confidence to keep going. But day to day is something I have to kind of fight with.
Hey, Martin, I want to just draw you back, and hopefully by the end of this question, you'll be able to answer your own question. What was the point of it? Okay. As you said, you have countless years, or 20 years, I think you said, of coaching experience. You've gone through and participated in 2 Commonwealth Games. You've done a tryout for the Olympic Games. But though you may have just got a physical medal from it, what sort of mental attitudes or what sort of relationship skills did you get from all of this? Like, what was the point that you got? Where did you grow?
When you're an athlete, you only care about the medals. You only care about breaking your personal best and moving forwards and across the line and realize that, even after the Commonwealth Games, I was bronze medalist. I had about 2 weeks of partying and celebrating, and then everyone moved on with their lives. And I really had to reflect and say, what was the point of that? And I realized that it's not about me. If I hadn't won the bronze medal at that time, someone else would have won it. And actually would have been another English guy, and he would have been in the position I'm in now. And you realize that as a sports person, it's all about you. It has to be all about you. But the big picture is about putting on a show. The Commonwealth Games, the Olympics, it's all about putting on a show to inspire the nation. And it's inspiring them to be fitter, healthier people. And then as you go down that route of, well, what do we inspire them to do? It's not just to partake in sport. We have to inspire the next set of Olympians, but we're trying to inspire people lower down to partake in sport and to get all those positive benefits out of sport. So that's where I've realigned now and said, well, I've done the inspire the nation part. The next part is to go down and to work with either the next group coming up to help them to inspire the nation, or it's to go down to the bottom and to really work out what it is that you get out of sport. What are the positive benefits of sport? And that's where I'm at now. This is where I do the work with schools, and I'm trying to teach these things. How can we give students a positive first experience of sport, but also the psychosocial, the behavioural aspects through sport? And that's what I'm trying to develop now. But these are things I got out of sport in the long run. I think I came out of it as a well-rounded person, and I think we can actively build that especially into PE, where it's more about exposure, it's about fun. That's what I'm doing in my job now as head of athlete development. It's not just doing sport. It's not about, at a young age, trying to pursue medals. It's about what do you gain through the pursuit of performance.
It's a change of perspective to go from all about competition to the benefits of sport. And whereas we can make sport more inclusive, it doesn't have to just inspire the top tier people or the people that can run the fastest or jump the highest or anything like that. But being able to include everyone just by changing the perspective, by saying sport is for everyone, there is benefits for everyone. It's not just about competition. It's great to hear, and as yourself, as a medaled athlete, to be able to say that as well. What I want to ask now, you've had 3 sort of distinct parts of your career. You've had being a coach, you've been an athlete, and now you're moving as a head of a department, inspiring the younger people. What advice would you give to somebody sort of starting out who would like to sort of maybe follow in your footsteps, or at least be inspired by the journey that you've taken?
I would say you have to just keep in mind that it's all about giving. It's all about giving. I see the coaches that are all about having the best athletes, and my athletes win the most medals. That's very ego driven, and it's all about you. And that's not how performance is made. And 2, my biggest philosophy is that when one of my athletes does well, I have to say, congratulations, did a great job. When they don't go well, this is my responsibility. And that's quite hard to do, because most people want to feel like they're brilliant at their job. Most people don't want to take responsibility for the failures. But that really is our job as a coach. And if you can keep that in mind going forwards, that's how you inspire a team around you in a managerial role. It's how you inspire athletes when they're going through the same thing as I do, having big goals and not necessarily making it, but you've got to inspire them to keep moving forwards. And it's this idea of giving, constantly giving, rather than trying to show how great you are at what you do. If you can be that person that people can go to because you're going to serve others, people will reward you for that in the long run. Short term, it's show how great you are, take the money, take the accolades, take the medals. Long term is, here's someone who can help us. Let's bring him in. And I think that's what served me going forward.
I love this word that keeps coming up, inspiration, inspiring, in all of its forms. It seems to very much be the key to this interview and the key to some of your success, Martin. I hope you don't mind me saying that. You've inspired as an athlete, you've inspired a nation as an athlete, and now you're inspiring the next generation as a coach through creating these positive relationships with activity, movement. My real question is what's next? What's over the horizon for you, Martin? Where do you see you going? What mountain do you want to climb next? What thing do you want to achieve in the next few years?
Well, I mean, I've having done kind of the whole thing. I've done the elite level. I've coached with the Great Britain junior team for athletics, and I've also worked right down in the grassroots. And in Aspire, I started off coaching the development athletes, age 11 to 14. Then I became head of jumps with our athletes aiming for the World Junior Championship. And I've really been able to kind of narrow in on, one, what I enjoy, and two, what I think I'm really good at. And I think what good at is this idea of inspiring young people to absolutely love athletics. And with my elite level knowledge, I can break that down to a level that's right for them. So I can see the pathway the whole way through, but I love coaching the younger athletes and teaching them about athletics and teaching them the fundamentals. So what I've started to do is to really put that together. I'm building curriculums for schools, which is my kind of dummies guide to high jump. Here's a lesson plan that I use, and it always works. And so I've been putting kind of collections of those together, putting some resource together. And my aim now is set your goal big. My aim is to become the leading guy in the world for athletics in schools. You want to know about athletics in schools? Come see Martin. He's the guy. That's my aim, and it's kind of my North Star. I'm working towards. I've got my job at Aspire, which is a great playground for me to practice these things and to try out these things. But I really want to kind of try and share that knowledge with guys like you, teachers all around the world, because there's no one really doing that at the moment. And as I speak to teachers, they're struggling, just scrabbling around for lesson ideas, lesson plans, and I'm sitting here with hundreds that I could share with you. So my plan is keep doing what I'm doing at Aspire, keep trying to improve the athlete development pathway here, but at the same time find ways to share that with other people doing the same thing.
Yes, and on behalf of the PE teaching coaching community, Martin, I can't thank you enough. I've already delved into some of your curriculums, looked at some of your resources on tests, and anyone listening, we're going to put a link to those resources on the description to this podcast. And I do recommend anyone and everyone who is thinking about teaching athletics, coaching athletics, has a look, because they are fantastic resources, Martin, and they're very well structured to kind of be used at all levels. So thank you, Martin, ever so much for putting all those together. They're very, very helpful. I've got a bit of a cheeky question and something that I personally want to know. Like yourself, I've had the very privileged opportunity to coach elite athletes. So in my case, it was elite rugby, and I'm obviously my day job is to work with the next generation, the up and coming athletes. My question is which one did you enjoy the most, and what were the reasons for that?
Coaching the higher level stuff comes with the pressure of higher level stuff. So, I mean, when you become a full-time athlete, your hobby becomes your job, and then it ceases to be a hobby anymore. And when your living is relying on it, there's certain pressures that come with that. As a coach, people are paying you to coach them to get better, and there's pressures that come with that. Whereas with the kids and the younger athletes, especially the younger teenagers, where they're developing as people, I love having that wider role of that guiding people to be better people through sport. That's what I'm really passionate about. So kids that age get better, whatever you do, almost, because they're growing and they're maturing, but giving them that really good start, knowing that I can hand them over to the guys that are passionate about performance, the guys that are capable of taking people to the Olympics. I feel like I could do that kind of stuff, but I feel like I should go where I'm best and where I'm most passionate about, rather than if I go for the performance stuff, it's really going to be for my own ego to say that I coach people at the Olympics. But for me, I'll get just as much joy out of developing 10 people that go on to compete at the Olympics, even though I'm not coaching at the time. That's what I love. It's watching these young people turning to really good young adults.
It's great to hear that you're very service oriented, okay? And you're choosing pathways and directions that allow you to impact more people rather than specifically targeting athletes who are fantastic, but may be more egocentric or more outcome oriented. I love the fact that you've gone through and you've gained your knowledge and you're able to follow your passion and that you are able to live a life that you enjoy throughout your sporting journey. As we're coming to the end of this interview, we just have a quick lightning round. Short questions, short answers. My question for you is, what strange habit or skill do you have that has helped you on your journey?
I don't know about strange habit. I mean, I think maybe we touched on it right at the start. I was known in my family for being the lazy one, which doesn't really make much sense when you've been an elite athlete. But like I said, I don't think I'm really lazy. I think I get bored quickly. As a kid, I was just distracted. Now that boredom means that I'm always doing something. I'm always learning something. I'm always thinking. I'm actually very, very conscientious, but I still have that athlete mentality of I'm either working really hard. So currently I have my job. I'm building my resources and my business. I'm doing an MBA because I just can't sit still. But then when I do sit still, I will do absolutely nothing. So I'm either full on or full off. That's it.
I like that idea of full on or full off, and knowing where that switch is. I might need to speak to you at a later date to tell me where that switch is, because mine's always on. I'm always busy. But I have 2 children, so time off is always difficult when you've got 2 children trying to use you as a trampoline. Anyway, my strange question is, well, not a strange question, but out there question is, if you weren't in the world of sport, if something happened and you were no longer involved in the world of sport, what else do you think you would be doing right now?
Probably 2 things. One, a bit more obvious, that I would probably be a primary school PE teacher. I think when you get those young kids, I think it's a hard job working with the kind of 5-6-year-olds, but I think those kids are just like a sponge. And I love the idea that, you know, one of my colleagues here had a daughter. We live in the Middle East. It never rained. Went back to the UK and they looked out the window and it was raining and they had no idea what was going on. And just this idea that everything you teach them is new, and you have such an opportunity to really shape a generation and shape kids in the right direction. I think I'd love it. And they're just such curious minds. The other option, if I was going to go a completely different direction, I'd probably be a musician, something like that. You know, I can play guitar very badly, but you know, you've always got that thing in your head of, you know, I could be a rock star. I could be on stage singing and in front of the crowds. No one would want to listen to me. But if I could do that, I think I'd absolutely love it.
So not only inspirational, but multi-talented as well, Martin. Wow.
I didn't say I was good at it.
Always busy, always trying, very inspirational. And anyone listening to this, I think will certainly agree that those are the 3 best ways to sum up what's come across today. So we have unfortunately come to the end. I know we could probably go on and talk for hours, but we have come to the end of this conversation. And anyone obviously wanting to know more, we'll put your details into the description. But yeah, so from myself and Tavis, we'd just like to say thank you ever so much for the time you've given us today. Some great inspirational quotes, some great information, and some real, you know, golden nuggets for people to take away. So, Mine, thank you ever so much for your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I think this is a podcast that's really needed for guys moving into sport. Having that vision of where to go, I think it's going to be really useful for some, especially some of the younger people coming out of university. So keep going with it. Enjoy listening to them so far, and good luck.
I'd just like to echo what Simon had just said. Thanks again for sharing your advice, your information from, your perspective, from being a medaled athlete, from being able to go through university late, to be able to overcome challenges and to pick yourself back up, and sort of reiterating hard work versus talent and how hard work can win every time. Thank you very much. I feel we've survived 10 rounds with you, just like a decathlon, and we wish you all the best in the future.